What's going on, traders? I'm Antoine Farrar back with another trading video with Digital Goatz Academy. Today is Tuesday, so if you've been tuning into our channel, you know that today is our market forecast where we pretty much highlight our predictions on what we believe that the market is going to do. So without further ado, let me go ahead and get into the charts. Why am I looking at gold? Anyway, if you're tuning into this channel, make sure you guys do me a solid and hit that subscribe button. But also, if you're tuning into this channel, you already know that we primarily focus on indices. I can't stress that enough. Or basically money makers. We do talk about a couple of other currency pairs, but within the Digital Goats Academy space, we've kind of evolved outside of Forex pairs. Not that they don't make money, it's just that we condition ourselves to kind of again go where the most money is at, and that normally tends to be indexes unless you start upping your lot size. But again, if you've been tuning into this channel, like I said, I cover indices. So this is US 30. This is what we're going to be discussing today, as well as a little bit of S&P and NASDAQ. Now, I didn't drop my weekly review today. I don't even think I did. Oh, I didn't do a weekly review this week. So it feels like I haven't seen you guys in a long time. I don't know what's up with that. But we just did something last week. I know we didn't do a weekly review last week. So that's 2 weeks we haven't done a weekly review. And that's why it feels like it's been, like a long time since I've seen you, YouTube. But anyway, I can kind of discuss what happened Sunday before we actually go into our predictions or our analysis. So Sunday we did sell off. We did sell off. We or gap down. You might as well go ahead and say gap down. We did gap down Sunday, for the start of the market, but it actually pushed us back down to this consolidation zone that we were kind of eyeing. I was suspecting that price may try to target this. I wasn't sure. I thought that this might have been like the pullback right here. But as you can see, price decided to treat this as, a form of structure. Well, consolidation is a form of structure, but it decided to treat this as support. It's just, luckily that this happened to just be consolidation. Because remember, last week or the week before, we were talking about that price may come back. No, that was last week. So price may come back to this 945 candle or this zone that we mark up. Remember, whenever we do the 945 candle, we always do it 9:45 a.m. on the 15-minute time frame. So this is reflected what happened on the 15-minute time frame on May 5th, right? So we didn't come down to this area all the way, but you can consider it as it tested the high. And I like that we did establish support in this area. You can see that price started bouncing around in this overall price zone of 49,350 to 49,430, you might as well say. So this is where price decided to create resistance. Remember, we were talking about the possibility of price pushing down here only because, one, this is consolidation moving upward. What we've seen that has happened in the past, like over and over, it's probably about, I would probably say like 60% accurate. I don't want to give like a high number because results may vary and this could be where the market tries to push down. But, thankfully, that wasn't one of these scenarios this time. I actually thought that we were going to try to at least push to this high. I'm glad that we didn't, you know what I'm saying? But again, this is where I talk about one, keeping your markups and keeping an eye out for the possibility of areas that you're not really paying attention to, because we know for a fact what is the market going to do? It's going to get us very comfortable. You're going to think that it's going to the moon, and you're not going to price in like the corrective wave that the market normally does, which tends to seem like it's like selling, or if you are buying, it seems, or if you were selling, it seems like it's buying, when it's basically just trying to test areas that the market needs to validate in order to continue in that overall direction. So as you can see, we created support down here at this consolidation zone, which we know indices are attracted to consolidation zones. We say this over and over. Traders, I'm saying the same shit. I'm not saying anything new. And if anything, you probably watch it less because I'm not saying anything that's earth-shattering or groundbreaking where it's like, oh man, like he just taught me rocket science right there. Like, no, it's the same stuff. It's just when it presents itself. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't believe in strategies when it comes to trading. I believe in having like rules and conditions that you have set. So if price violates a certain area, violates a pattern, or it's actually forming that pattern, then I think that price is going to overall give you that. I mean, I think price gives you that validation that you need overall, right? So, like I said, we created support. I can talk about like the 945 candle, but I don't really want to go into that because again, that's something that we do kind of in-house within Digital Goats. So it may not be relevant for every trader out there, but I'm telling you, you can definitely utilize this. I already gave you the recipe, you know what I'm saying? 15-minute time frame, 945 candle, box that up. You now have a zone. So as long as price plays around that zone like it did yesterday, you could see that yesterday we were kind of, consolidating within this 945 candle yesterday. And then this morning, opening bell, what should we expect with opening bell? We should expect opening bell to push us down, right? Opening bell pushed us down. Now we don't know how far. That's the one thing that I haven't been able to like lock in on is like how far you can kind of have areas of expectation, which, this consolidation zone was an area, but I thought that after we pushed away from here on Monday, on Sunday, that price wasn't going to try to come back and test this area. But here's another thing that we've seen. Sunday to Tuesday. Whenever we see price create like structure on Sunday, it's not always like a guarantee, but we've seen it happen more so than not. Where price will actually come back and test Sunday on Tuesday. This is like the third time we've seen this. Test Sunday, either push down a little bit lower or be equal to it and create some form of structure, well, create support in order to buy out because we are looking for a continuation of the buy pattern. So the fact that again, that's why it's like I don't like strategies because again, had I stuck to like the 945, like how I expect the 945 candle to operate and then ignored all this stuff, I would have been thinking that the market was selling and it would have blew me out the water. You see what I'm saying? Like that's why it's like for me, I'm like against strategies. It's just, like whatever the conditions are that the market is bringing you that day, you take advantage of that at that time. You know what I'm saying? So what you used yesterday may not be relevant for today. What you use the following day may not be relevant for the next day. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you have like techniques and like I said, parameters and stuff where it's like, okay, if price does this, but don't restrict yourself to a set strategy. But teach his own, you know what I'm saying? I know there's traders out there that's like, I got the most fire strategy. I just do, we just do the best we can with what we got. You know what I'm saying? Like try to not make it super difficult because again, you're going into those strategies or what they say to be proven strategies, it might not be relevant next month. It might not be relevant a year from now. You know what I'm saying? And you're getting your ass whooped because you're relying on this one strategy that it's like, nah, the market recognizes it's an AI. You know what I'm saying? It recognizes that we're winning and it's going to adjust itself to make sure you're not winning. You know what I mean? But anyway, that's enough about my little rant on strategies. But I still like what we're seeing. The only thing I'm open-minded to is that maybe we get some type of pullback here to validate. Well, one, what do we have that's going on in this sequence? We already have support. So if we turn it to a line chart, we can already see within the consolidation zone that we created, we have support. Yes, price violated the trend, but I'm still not looking at it because I know for a fact that the trend that I make, that's not saying that price is going to stay um or is going to respect that. You know what I'm saying? It may like push out of it a little bit or push down or go a little bit lower than what I expected, which happened already. You know what I'm saying? This was our trend. If you see the black line, and then we broke up outside of it. Now, what normally a new trader would do is like, oh, it broke up out of my trend. I'm gonna start selling. You know what I'm saying? Absolutely not, because I know that again, the three ways the market move: up, down, sideways. All this shit is right here is sideways. It hasn't proven to me at all that we're trying to sell. And you got to go from where we came from, not what price is doing. You start here, work your way back. Where did price come from? Came from a level of structure, which is support. And then you can kind of fact check it on different time frames. So the 2 hour, you can see support. 3 hour, it looks like this is the previous, like this is the test of the previous high. So that's even better. And that actually looks like an inverted head and shoulder. I was actually wondering if price was going to do that, and it actually did that. Then you have where basically price did a liquidity sweep. That was from this morning. And then this is still support, you know what I'm saying? Or a swing low. So basing it off of the 4 hour time frame, this is a swing low, you know what I'm saying? So price basically collected liquidity over here, pushed down slightly, created structure, and then bought back up. Pretty simple, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'm sure it didn't feel like that with that push down this morning, but those are things we should expect. We should expect opening bell to bring us down if we're still buying up. If we're selling off, opening bell should push us up. See what I'm saying? Like, very simple. These things are happening over and over. Is it like every day repeatedly? No, but can you use that as a guide? That's why I said again, can't stay true to strategies. It's like more technique based because if it's relevant today, then I use it. If it's not, then I kind of discard it. So today it was relevant. Opening bell pushing down. Didn't know where it would land, but I'm glad I have these zones pretty much marked up. So this is where it landed, and this is where price basically decided to reverse from, creating what? Creating that dip we need, that valley. Now, the only thing we would need is to see if price is going to continue pushing up or if it's going to push down to test like a high of this area because like we can go deeper and I know I am kind of like breaking it down because this is how I think, you know what I'm saying? This is how I think as a trader. So outside of us establishing that this is support, I can start to break down candlestick patterns, not trend patterns, but candlestick patterns. What is this right here? When you look at this red candle that pushed down, this doji, and I'm gonna say this, I don't know what kind of candle that's called, but I mean, I'm sure I do know, but I don't really care about, I only care about certain patterns now, not like what each candle is called individually. But what would this pattern be? One, two, three. These three candles right here. Focusing on those three candles right there, and let me make it noticeable. Yeah, I guess black is good. These three candles right here, right? Don't worry, you don't have to answer because obviously I'm gonna write it down, but I wanted to give the community some time to use your thought, I mean to use your brain. Look at me struggling. Morning star pattern. We talked about this. This is a bullish why am I struggling? This is a bullish pattern. So if this was a bearish pattern or we were looking for selling opportunities, we would see an evening star possibly, but it would do the opposite. You know what I'm saying? So you just kind of look at it like this. If we inverted it, this is what an evening star would look like. Obviously, this would be the bull candle, and then this everything after this would be like red. So this would be red, this would be red. Again, technique I use is that I invert it because if it looks like it's selling, if I inverted it, then it's definitely buying. If it looks like it's buying and I inverted it, then it's definitely selling. You see what I'm saying? Just small tips and tricks that you can use to, you know, hone in on your analysis. You're not always going to be right with that, you know what I'm saying? But the more information you get to make what you see a little bit more clear, the better, right? So morning star pattern, I know that a morning star pattern needs to have like some type of pullback. This is the pullback right here, right? Now, within this sequence, this is a high that was broken out. We should expect what? Now, that's not necessarily saying that price is going to come back here, but we should expect based off of this wick right here, this doji. So based off of this high right here, you can draw a zone, and if price comes down here, we know that this is another buy zone. I'm actually hoping that price doesn't come down here and it actually says, fuck all this shit, and then the momentum is strong to the upside, and the only thing we're going to get is consolidation that's going to push us up. That's what I'm looking for. But again, I identify these areas for the possibility that price may push back down to test this area. And that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? We had a strong move before the market closed going into post market, well, going into Sydney and Tokyo. So a move like that to kind of bring the market down during London, as we saw yesterday, that could possibly happen, like when the market starts to, consolidate, pushes down, test off of here. That should be the last area. I mean, this should be the last time that we test the zone if price is trying to come down here. But like I said, I'm not expecting that. I'm actually looking for it to consolidate because we are going into Sydney and Tokyo and then buy up from here. But let's just entertain if price were to come down. Might do one of these numbers. Bear with me. I know this is on the hour, and then we said that was the high. Oh man, it's just making it look ugly. Y'all get it. You know what I'm saying? Obviously, my drawing on with the pencil, it's not that good. But you get what I'm saying, right? You get what I'm saying. So consolidate, break down here. Now, I don't think that because we already did that move today, but I'm just saying that if price were to try to test this area, you would probably have something like similar to that effect. But I'm just looking for the consolidation and the continuation up, unless the consolidation, I mean, unless we don't push up towards London. London should break us out to where it puts us high, and then opening bell may do the same thing again, bring us down, but not bring us all the way down here, bring us where we broke out over here. So that's what I'm expecting. But like I said, I leave room for error and I mark up any area that I may like that I think that the market may try to target, you know what I'm saying, getting traders comfortable and then do like some type of liquidity sweep, which we had today. I mean, you could say liquidity sweep, but if you've been trading indices, you know that this is what opening bell does, especially if we're looking for the trend to continue up. If it was selling, we should expect that opening bell was going to bring the market up. It did. It has not. Opening bell has not been bringing the market up, and you need a full close. So it's like for the hour, you might as well say, all right, I gotta wait for the 9 o'clock candle to close. And then you start making a determination from there. As you can see, each time it slowly started building momentum to the upside. And we closed above here. So to me, this is a violation of this consolidation pattern saying that, yo, I'm not selling. I'm not selling. I'm buying up. You know what I'm saying? Keep it simple. Keep it as simple as possible. But use, the more advanced stuff to kind of pinpoint what's going on. I use the advanced stuff to make sense of what's going on, but like I try to keep it as simple possible. This is support. So we're at a level of structure. You know what I'm saying? We know that indices love consolidation. We're above zones that we expected price to test. It did not test. It created structure over here. So we should be in the clear. You know what I'm saying? Not to mention, it's like I'm not changing my bias from where we've been anyway. We're still moving off of this inverted head and shoulder. And if I want to be like, I guess not fancy, but like I said, I was kind of expecting this too. And the fact that it did that, it's kind of astonishing to me. What time frame was that? That I did that on. That was a 3 hour that we looked at. Was that the 2 hour? I want to say that was the 3 hour. Now again, if you follow our channel, you know I suck at these. I suck at identifying these, but hell, I'm like at least 1 for 15 this year. You know what I'm saying? So this is the first one. This is like the third one or fifth one I identified this year that actually like played out. So it is playing out to that inverted head and shoulders. So let's see if the continuation is going to be up here. And it's normally towards the end of what? A downtrend. I mean, in this sequence, this was the end of a downtrend, like a major downtrend, but this is like a short-term move. So let's see. It looks like on the 2 hour. Yeah, I may be reaching for that. I don't like how hmm, this is the structure, so I may not be reaching, but I do think that I'm reaching for this. This is just something that I was like, man, that looks like an inverted head and shoulders. So we'll see if price actually plays out to this. which I'm not relying on this. I'm still looking at it to be a bullish pattern, but I'm not relying on the inverted head and shoulder. Like to me, I looks like I feel like this is an ass pull. Like I'm trying to make it what I want it to be, and we're not gonna roll off of that. But again, we still are looking at like bullish momentum because we identified what structure. You know what I'm saying? This is support here. Even if this wasn't considered support, we're looking at it on a 3 hour. You have your swing low, and then you have your test of the previous high, and then it did a liquidity sweep. So this is where the structure is at. And again, how many times have we say the market will test the previous high? I'm not going to leave that there because we already got. I just wanted to identify like, look where we're at, and then we turn it to a candlestick. Look where it met. I wasn't even trying to do that. It met the previous high, which is this wick right here. Remember, wicks are highs too in the market. Don't ignore wicks all the time. Like, especially like when you're seeing moves like this, the market is definitely trying to. I mean, it covered this whole candle, but where the structure stopped at, where price actually started buying up from, was right here, where the high is at, or a previous level of resistance, right? So I'm still bullish. I'm just waiting to see how the market is going to react once it opens up. I gave you my expectations for US 30. There's a possibility that price obviously can be pushed down because of the pattern that was made, and price just needs to what am I trying to say? Pull back in order to validate the buy. We already know the possible area because we've already said that this area is support, and we know that within indices it'll create support and then test the previous high to continue to trend up. I'm not looking for that, but like I said, let's be open-minded, so we don't get caught with our pants down. So the last two that we're going to discuss is S&P and Nasdaq. And man, like I've been saying, S&P and Nasdaq have just been the cleaner moves. Nasdaq more specifically, but S&P has definitely had some opportunity. So I did think that we were going to buy up from here, which I don't think that that was a bad buy zone. My expectation was that we were creating, well, consolidation was being made right here. So I know that this is going to be an area that the market is going to try to target after it breaks up out of the zone because this is consolidation. So we broke up out of the zone, but market obviously said, yeah, I got to test a little bit lower. And remember, we had this like funny looking candle that was made. I think I discussed this last week. This funny looking candle that was made on Thursday. I always like kind of notate candles that like really don't have structure below it. The thing was last year, what messed me up is that I was expecting price to cover this type of candle because it did it on US 30 like around like what was that like 45K or some shit like that. I expected price to basically do one of these numbers where say it was, selling off, it didn't buy up from here. I would think that price would do this to create a lower point to cover this liquidity because this is obviously money that the banks, left, but it just decided to test like a percentage of this imbalanced candle. So I'm still eyeing that, but I don't want to get too distracted because last year that cost me because I was like always expecting that price was going to come back down here and I was missing out on opportunity. When price ended up coming like down to like a candle like this for US 30, it did it this year. So I could have continuously been buying up even though we had those sharp pushes down. And then yeah, I could have just been continuously buying up instead of like trying to be skeptical of if price was going to grab that liquidity or not. So things that, like I said, what happened today may not be relevant tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? But again, notate that stuff and just have it marked up so that way you can identify it. Or if price does start coming down here, it's like, oh, and also it prevents you from over leveraging. Not that you're acting scary, but it's like until you see a break of structure, you have to believe that price may try to target this candle. You know what I'm saying? So it did that today. Opening bell did that today. And I think this was the pullback that we need to validate. Yeah, yes, we are buying up. You could be fancy and add a fib tool to it. See what percentage. 23%. So at least a percentage of this candle, and it met with this consolidation zone right here. So this consolidation, as you can see, it built the consolidation right here two more times. Not to mention, we already had this area marked up as a previous high that was broken. So even if we're not saying that this is like support, which it's not, we can understand that price did what? Test the previous high, which if we're continuing the uptrend, it should be validating the highs and not trying to always create support. Support creates the uptrend. I mean, support creates the buy move, but the uptrend is validated by price testing the resistance that was broken out of. So we tested this resistance, which is now support. We had already had that marked up as support. Look where price came back to. Support pushed up. Where was this? And this was the gap from Sunday. So we did gap down. Yeah, what was this? No, this wasn't. This was the gap from Sunday. Yeah, this was the gap, and price brought us up. So what was this? Monday actually pushed us up to a new high. So that actually puts us up to 7,400, which is like S&P has just been breaking records this year. It's been crazy and pretty phenomenal to watch. You know what I'm saying? We're seeing history being made where, the S&P was at like what, 1,200 at one point, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that's a years for it to get to this level now, you know what I'm saying? But we're seeing this stuff happen like it broke a new high last year just to break a new high this year. We're seeing highs being broke every year. Like, get in this market, traders. Get in this market. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, like we're still, pushing off of this trend. So we say the trend started right here. We know that price could try to test this area again. I mean, test this zone again, like somewhere up here in order to validate this trend, unless we got a breakout straight up here, which I'm hoping we have a breakout, but it's hard to say because S&P and NASDAQ have been creating new highs. So the fact that if they were to continuously create new highs is kind of crazy. I know there was a bank analyst that had a projection for 8,400, and that's exactly where I got like S&P going to 7,000 last year or this year. Well, it went to 7,000 this year, but at the end of 2024 is when I got the information that their target, a lot of banks' targets was 7,000. So my target for S&P last year was 7,000. We finally reached that this year. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, of April. We finally reached that this year. In January is where we reached it. I wanted to make sure. So in January of this year is when we reached that 7,000 mark. And as you can see, price is still climbing higher. And again, it still violated this pattern that we talked about. We did say that this consolidation pattern is no longer valid for the downtrend. And the uptrend is valid now because price should not have come like basically this high. We talked about all this traders like come on, man. Y'all got to stop missing opportunity. You know what I'm saying? Even me, I missed a lot of opportunity because I was mainly focused on US 30. But either way, I still focus on all indices. Last but not least, NASDAQ. So again, what do we talk about with NASDAQ? Just kind of identifying it from the higher time frame. I don't even need to go into like a weekly review because we talked about again consolidation moving upward. We said this. We said price would break out this area, probably try to pull back. This was the pullback right here. I was expecting it to break out a little bit higher and then want to pull back, but this was the pullback, the immediate pullback. And then price broke out of this area. One thing we said is that whenever price is going to try to, if price is going to try to position itself back down here, it's going to either try to test the high or somewhere into this candle if we are going to push back down here. I'm not thinking that we're going to push down here anytime soon because I do believe that that pullback over here validated what we needed, but we'll have to see how the market is like responding. Remember, NASDAQ can kind of do its own thing in comparison to US 30, but not too much of its own thing. You know what I'm saying? It could just be selling while US 30 and S&P are buying or vice versa, right? But again, we're still playing off that inverted head and shoulder. This was an area that price broke out of. And then again, even if you didn't have that marked up, if you just drew a fib on it, okay. Remember, we're always trying to target at least the golden zone, which is 618, but 50% is good. Look where 50% put us. 50% put us at the high. So that wouldn't have been a bad move. You'd have just had to, accept the drawdown of $230, which, if you can't handle a drawdown like that, or if you don't use proper risk management, then you don't need to be trading this pair. Because that's on a 0.01. But as you can see, price did what? Test another previous high. So here's a high over here, and it's always the high that we're not paying attention to. And again, look at NASDAQ, funny looking candle. So I had paid attention to that man, NASDAQ did like S&P and made like a funny looking candle, which I would expect what? Price to try to target that for a liquidity sweep. But again, I'm kind of basing it off of last year slightly because it didn't do that. It didn't do that until the following year. So this could be where price tries to target for next year. You know what I'm saying? So we're just gonna kind of leave that like open to us, so we know. But we broke out of resistance. This was support made last week. Again, oh, okay. So this is a morning star pattern. Where is this? Yeah, this was last week. So morning star pattern. Price broke out of here. Decided to do what? Test a percentage, whether it's the high, whatever part of the morning star is going to test. It's going to test something, whether it's the high, whether it's 100% of it to create support, like whatever it's going to do. So what you could do is like mark the high into the low of it, see what percentage. And it didn't even really test the morning star pattern, but it just tests the high of it. So we bring an imaginary zone, we can see that price decided to test that wick. See what I'm saying? So that validates the uptrend. We broke higher, consolidated up, pushed up, got everybody comfortable, trapped them. We got brought down by opening bell today in order to do what? To test this high over here. Look how price is targeting these wicks. Again, you start from where you're at, work your way back. Came right to that wick, right? Or that high. Even if you're not respecting the wick, this is still a high based off of market structure or a previous level of resistance. You know what I'm saying? Easy, right? So S&P and NASDAQ seems like they're doing the same thing, which we've been following that. We've been seeing that in real time. The S&P and NASDAQ have kind of been doing similar moves. So you can see that if we start the trend right here, next sequence, if price is gonna not, if price doesn't break out from here, we should see price want to push up high and then possibly come back and test this area whenever it decides to. So for illustration purposes, you know what I'm saying? I'm not expecting price to come down. All right, break high. And I'm just saying if that's what's going to happen possibly, which we've seen possibly happen more than not. But again, that puts us in preparation that if price does a move similar to this is what we should be expecting. You know what I'm saying? So don't get nervous, but if it's staying to this trend, we should see something to that effect. If not, this is liftoff. I'm hoping this is liftoff. And that's only if we're doing a pullback because remember, a version of a pullback is still consolidation as well. So the fact that the market is moving like it starts to move sideways, but it's like still pushing up, pay attention to that. That's the correction that you're looking for. So it doesn't necessarily have to pull back. That could be the correction, and the market ain't even like trying to come back to these zones again. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I looked at that, covered that. Yeah. So I'm still bullish. I mean, I haven't changed that even with these sales. Like I haven't changed my bias at all. You just want to make sure that you're using proper risk management in your day trading. So again, we're still in the uptrend. Price hasn't been showing us that it's trying to sell off. Even with the pushes down, it hasn't been selling off. Look how clear that looks. Like, and this is where the structure is at. Yes, it met all the way down here to this imbalanced candle or to this funny looking candle, whatever you want to say. But you can see that that was a previous high on a 4 hour time frame. Doesn't look simple when price is moving and you're seeing yourself going drawdown, or prices is moving so fast that you can't register what's going on. But after price starts to calm down, it gives you the depiction on what the visuals are. Pretty simple, you know what I'm saying? Like don't get so like bent out of shape and you're not using like the basic chart reading that you were taught, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, like I said, I'm bullish on indices still. I'm not changing my narrative. I know that that virus that there's talks of that virus. I don't think this is like a second coming of COVID too. It seems like the government got, this pretty much handled as far as like having the proper procedures to quarantine people, having steps and policies put in place to make sure people don't spread this virus. And from what I heard is like it can't like spread to you like airborne like COVID did. So I don't think it's cause for concern, which that would be a negative effect in the market that would bring the market down. So that's the reason why I'm bringing it up. If you're like, why the fuck is this dude bringing that up? You know what I'm saying? So I don't think that that's going to be something that we have to worry about being priced into the market. But if we get more news reports of like people passing away from it or more people being sick, obviously that's going to have us be a little bit more cautious on our approach where the market is trying to push up. Because if we do get like a big move that, I mean, a big news report that such and such, so many people caught the virus or so many people passed away, then yeah, we're gonna have to reassess the market and there could be a giant sell coming that way. I'm just talking hypothetically. I'm not saying that that's what's going on. I'm talking hypothetically, right? But that's it, traders. That's all I got for today. So, like I said, I'm still bullish. Um, it doesn't matter. Like anytime the market has been like selling, we've been seeing it buy back up. So I think you as a trader, you should still remain bullish. But if you have opportunities to catch these sells, don't put yourself in a bad position. Like take the short term, just know the sell is not as long as the buy. The buy is always longer than the sell, but any sell that we have, you should expect it to be short term, even though it seems violent, because clearly we are up in the market. Like I said, that's all I got, traders. I'll catch you on the next video with Digital Goats Academy. I'm Antoine Farrar, as always, signing off. Peace.